Hello, welcome. Our topic today is the medieval Renaissance and Enlightenment. The medieval Renaissance and Enlightenment. There are three different periods during the ancient time. Now, the medieval period, another name for it is the Middle Age, is a Latin word. The Middle Age. Now, the Middle Ages was a time of intellectual darkness between the fall of Rome and the beginning of the Renaissance in the 14th century. So scholars call this period the medieval period. Now, the one that followed the medieval period is the Renaissance. The Renaissance is a French word. Renaissance is a French word. It means rebirth. This was a fervent period of European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages. So after the Middle Ages, which is also known as the Dark Ages, you have the Renaissance. So you have the medieval, or you could call it the Middle Ages. After that period, you have the Renaissance, and Renaissance means rebirth. Now, after the Renaissance period, you have the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment can also be called the Age of Reason, which is the new age we are in. It was an intellectual and cultural movement in the 18th century that emphasized reason over superstition and science over blind faith. So 18th century, we are now in the 21st century. What is the Middle Ages? What was the Middle Ages? What was it all about? Now, the Middle Ages, okay, was a period of time between the fall of the Roman Empire, which is the ancient times, and the modern times. Now, you're going to see the images of the Middle Ages. You can see the warriors, you can see the dress pattern, you can see the architectural design of their buildings, you can see the ancient homes. Now, these are the images of the Middle Ages. That is known as the Dark Ages. Now, most historians believe that the Middle Ages started in 467 AD with the fall of the Roman Empire. But our study is going to focus on the Middle Ages in England, which began in 1066 and ended in about year 1500. Okay, now basically we've talked about the Middle Ages being called. Okay, why do we call it the Middle Ages? Because it was the middle of the timeline, and most often, like I said, we call it the Dark Ages. So it's all sometimes called the Dark Ages. Can you guess why it's called the Dark Ages? Why is it called the Dark Ages? It is called the Dark Ages because there was a decline in learning, culture, peace, stability, compared to the time before, that is the ancient time, and the time after the fall of the Roman Empire. So we've said that the medieval period is known as the Middle Ages. It's also known as the Dark Ages. The barbarians, those that are not literate, non-literate tribe. They took over the Roman Empire. This period was known as the Dark Ages. There was a decline in learning and written history. Learning centered around theology and less on science and technology. So the head of the Catholic Church was the Pope. He had a lot of powers over kings and queens. Now the period that followed after this medieval age, which is the Middle Age, which is known as the Dark Ages, is the Renaissance. Renaissance is a French word. It means rebirth. Okay. Now, this period of Renaissance, like I said, is the rebirth of learning after the Dark Ages. Because during the Dark Ages, there was no learning. Science was stopped. Okay, a lot of things. Now, we say that the Renaissance was rebirth. It started in Italy in the 14th century. We are now in the 21st century, so you know what I'm talking about, like some 600 years back. Now, Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, even Gutenberg, they were the great artists of that time, of the Renaissance period. Leonardo da Vinci had a very fine artistry work. He was an engineer, he's an architecture, okay, he's an architect, okay. Then you had Gutenberg that invented the printing press. So they used the printing press in producing books. So reading came back to life, engineering, architectural design, and a lot of invention of clock and some household items. So that was the Renaissance period. Like I said, it's the period of the rebirth. Now we have the period called the Enlightenment. It followed the Renaissance. Today is the period, the Enlightenment. Okay. Now the Enlightenment was the period It can also be called the age of reason. I told you earlier. That's the age of reason, the Enlightenment. People began to be curious, and then they wanted to know how and why things happen. So when we say the Enlightenment, we are referring to this present period we are in, this modern time. Okay, so people began to be curious. They wanted to know how, why things happen. Okay, so there was a revolution in science, and advances were made in biology and in medicine. So in this Enlightenment period, it was that period where science gained more ground, and even universities were built, laboratories, and a lot of scientists were inventing many household things that were helping families. Now, astronomy progressed, cartography progressed, technology advanced, including the production of locomotive engines that were used to power vehicles then. Then when you come to agriculture, a lot of machines were built to help plow the soil so that there will be so much food. So all these things happened in Europe during that 14th century. So now clock were invented, like I said it earlier, printing press was invented, okay? Now there was advancement in science, there was advancement in technology. Then the greatest scientists during all those periods were the monks. Monks were like priests. They are being kept in the monastery. So they are being kept in the monastery to work. So that is what the monk. Okay? Now that's the period. Now, this the recap of what we've been talking about. A recap of what we've been talking about. We've talked about the medieval age, which is known as the Middle Age or the Dark Ages. We've talked about the Renaissance, which is rebirth. It is the French period. Now, let's review our topic. Let's review our topic. First, we have said that during the medieval period, uh, learning centered around religion. Then the Pope had power over many of the medieval kings and queens. Then I told you that Renaissance means rebirth in French. And during this period, arts, literature, and even technology was given. Then we still said it that during this same period, we had architecture, art, and literature. These were discovered. Then we said the Enlightenment is the age of reason. Then you had biology and science as advances. These were the areas that they advanced in the Enlightenment during this. Now, thanks for watching this video. Try and upload your assignments when completed, and be good.